Imagine a time when a simple walk through the woods could be your last. Picture the French countryside in the mid-18th century, a region known as Gévaudan. Life was hard, but people knew the land and its dangers, or so they thought. Between 1764 and 1767, this peaceful corner of the world became a hunting ground for a creature so terrifying, its legend still sends shivers down the spine. It all started quietly, with scattered reports of wolf attacks. In a rural area like Gévaudan, that wasn't entirely unusual, but these attacks were different. The victims were often found horribly mutilated, their bodies torn apart in ways that even seasoned hunters found shocking. The targets were almost always the most vulnerable, women and children, tending to livestock or gathering firewood on the outskirts of their villages. As the body count rose, a wave of terror swept through the region. People began locking themselves in their homes, barricading doors and windows. The once familiar forests and fields turned into landscapes of fear. The creature responsible was no ordinary wolf. Eyewitnesses described it as enormous, with a massive head, a long, powerful tail, and reddish-brown fur. Its size was said to be that of a calf or a young cow, far larger than any known wolf in Europe. But it wasn't just its size that was terrifying. It was its intelligence. This beast seemed to hunt with a chilling, almost human-like cunning. It would ignore livestock to specifically target people. It seemed to understand traps, avoiding them with uncanny skill. It would stalk its victims, sometimes for miles, before striking with brutal efficiency. The attacks became so frequent and so savage that it felt like a war was being waged against the people of Gévaudan. The local authorities were overwhelmed. Hunts were organized with hundreds of villagers and local noblemen armed with muskets and pikes. But the beast always managed to escape. They killed dozens of wolves, hoping to get the right one, but the attacks continued unabated. This led to a disturbing realization. This was either a single, exceptionally clever and powerful animal or something else entirely. The legend grew with every new victim. Whispers of werewolves and demons spread through the terrified communities. Some believed the beast was a punishment from God, a divine scourge sent to punish the region for its sins. The fear was so palpable that it reached the highest levels of power in France. King Louis XV himself became personally involved. He was embarrassed and alarmed that such a creature could run rampant in his kingdom, defying all attempts to stop it. The king dispatched his best men to deal with the problem. First came Jean-Charles Marc-Antoine Vaumel-Deneval and his son, renowned wolf hunters from Normandy. They arrived with a pack of highly trained hounds and a small army of assistants. For months, they hunted tirelessly, but the Beast of Gévaudan outsmarted them at every turn. They killed more wolves, but the real killer remained at large, continuing its reign of terror. Frustrated, the king replaced them with his own royal gun-bearer, François Antoine. Antoine was a seasoned veteran, a man who had hunted for the king for decades. He arrived in Gévaudan in June 1765 with a new strategy and a grim determination. He organized massive hunts involving thousands of people, beating the forest to flush the creature out. Finally, in September of that year, Antoine and his men cornered a massive wolf near the Abbey of Chazes. He fired his musket, a shot blessed by a priest, and the great beast fell. It was an enormous animal, and everyone believed the nightmare was over. Antoine was hailed as a hero. He had the wolf stuffed and presented it at the royal court in Versailles. The king was pleased. The case was declared closed, and Gévaudan breathed a collective sigh of relief. But the relief was short-lived. Just 2 months later, the attacks began again. The horror returned with a vengeance. The new attacks were just as brutal, proving that the wolf Antoine had killed was not the true Beast of Gévaudan, or perhaps there was more than one. The terror in the region was now mixed with despair. It seemed nothing and no one could stop this monster. This is where the story takes an even stranger turn. One of the most chilling accounts came from a young girl who survived an attack. She claimed that when she looked into the creature's eyes, she saw something that wasn't animalistic. It felt like a human soul was inside, she reportedly said, yet it was a monster. This testimony fueled the darkest theories. Was it a sorcerer? A human who had found a way to disguise themselves as a beast, perhaps using a trained animal or an elaborate costume made of wolf hides? This idea wasn't as far-fetched as it might sound. The beast's uncanny intelligence, its focus on human prey, and its ability to evade expert hunters all pointed to something beyond a simple animal. Some historians have speculated that the attacks could have been the work of a serial killer, using the widespread fear of wolves as a cover for their gruesome crimes. The wounds on some victims were said to be so precise that they seemed made by a blade. The final chapter of this bloody saga is credited to a local hunter named Jean Chastel. On June 19, 1767, Chastel joined one of the many hunts. He was a peculiar man, deeply religious, and according to legend, he loaded his musket with 2 silver bullets he had personally blessed. That day, as the story goes, a huge wolf-like creature appeared before him. While others panicked, Chastel calmly knelt, said a prayer, and fired. His shot hit its mark. The creature fell, and when the hunters examined its body, they reportedly found human remains inside its stomach. After Chastel killed this second large beast, the attacks in Gévaudan stopped, for good. Was this the true beast, or did the real killer simply move on or die of other causes? We'll never know for sure. The body of the creature killed by Chastel quickly decomposed and was never properly studied, leaving its true identity a mystery. So, what was the Beast of Gévaudan? Was it a series of attacks by an unusually large and aggressive wolf pack, perhaps a wolf-dog hybrid, which would explain its size and strange behavior? Or could it have been an exotic animal like a hyena that had escaped from a private menagerie? And then there's the most sinister theory that it was a human killer, a sadist who trained dogs to attack or who used the chaos to commit unspeakable acts. The story of Jean Chastel himself is suspicious to some. He was imprisoned briefly before his famous hunt, and some wonder if he was involved in a more direct way. The Beast of Gévaudan was responsible for over 100 deaths and more than 200 attacks in total. It remains one of history's most terrifying and enduring unsolved mysteries. The tale has everything: a monstrous creature, mass hysteria, a royal intervention, and a heroic, almost mythical conclusion. It's a chilling reminder of a time when the line between man and monster, between reality and nightmare, was terrifyingly thin. The truth, whatever it may be, is lost to time, buried in the soil of Gévaudan along with its many victims. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into one of history's darkest mysteries. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. Let me know in the comments what you think the Beast of Gévaudan really was. Until next time, stay curious.